Evening, hello, welcome, good afternoon, good day. It's so great to see all of you here. It has been so long since I've been in a room full of so many incredibly good-looking and wealthy people, all at the exact same time. I mean, it's not every day you get to hang out with accomplished people, whether you're a money lender, a realtor, a financial planner, or a seasoned veteran and accomplished real estate investor. I, Richard Dolan, am delighted to be here with you. What's going on, everybody? So grateful that you're here. I want to get started. We have an action-packed evening with you. But first, I want to just go across here and take a look at all the people who are here. What's up, Stuart? It's good to have you here. And Pam, it's great to see Don and Doug. What's up, Christian? It's great to see you, my friend. Latif in the house. Wendy Bradley, good to see you. It's been so long. Tara Flynn, what is going on? Alberta. And I have also, too, an incredible team. But before we begin, I want to first acknowledge the team who's here. For those who don't know who Rule is, this is not a presentation about who Rule has been or what it's become. This is about you and how you can grow your real estate investment aspirations in a technological, advanced, and empowered way. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm excited. I'm kind of one of those guys that if someone can give me a pill or the fast track way to getting great real fast, I'll take it. Why? Because my time is important. More important now than ever before. I don't know if you're a parent or an aspiring one, or you really treasure your time and the privilege of spending it wherever you want. Time is the one commodity, friends. Time. Time is the real return on investment of any kind. Time is the one thing you must always have more of. And whenever you can, you cut corners. You gather folks, you rally resources, people and community, or conversations, and yes, even innovations to get more time. I mean, that's what we're talking about. So delighted to have you here. Again, for those who are just dialing in and joining us, I'm Richard Dolan, a co-founding partner alongside an incredible group of people who've done epic work in the world of real estate for people just like you. I want to first give a big shout out to Ken and Rob, right up there in the ELT. I want to say hello and thank you to the Naran Kalathungam, to Vincent Sundar, to Louis, to Kyle, and the rest of the gang who've been very good, very strong, and very committed to helping people do great, not good, but great with their real estate investment ambitions. So we're going to get started because I want to hear from a handful of my friends here. I'm talking about my brand new, and I mean sparkling, shiny, and epic partners in the process of taking people to the next level. I'm talking about Richard Anderson. Richard Anderson's in the house from Enrich Mortgage. I mean, he is truly a heavyweight champion of all things mortgages. We'll get to him, but I want to put a spotlight on him just to give a thumbs up, see how handsome he is, how brilliant he is. We'll get to you in a moment, my friend, but so good to have you here. A key to getting money, finding the dough, getting the loans and or refinancing for all real estate needs. We didn't want to look far. We didn't need to look too deep. We didn't even have to search. We knew who the best in the country was, and that was Richard Anderson and his team. We also know that Hunter Milbourne will be joining us, the former chairman of Sotheby's Real Estate Canada, who's going to talk to us a bit about why technology is radically, I don't mean slightly, I don't mean minimally, I don't mean just even a little at all. I mean powerfully shifting the landscape in which how real estate investments are not only found, but also acted upon. And we're also going to hear from our friend who was a former senior VP over at Google Canada, who's now left ship to join the mission in all things prop tech and fintech. Mr. Chris Adamkowski will be joining us to say hello and also share his thoughts on why this is an important call. But let's just get started, shall we? For those who are here who are not new to Rule, you're a member, you've been around before, you know what we've been up to. Give us a little shout out there in the chat room. Give us some fire, give us a thumbs up, give us an okay. Go in your chat room, get related to and connected with the technology down there. Watch, I'm going to do it myself right now so you know how easy it is. You go on in there and you send off a little message, and that usually is my favorite one to people with money. It's always going to send out some affection. You guys deserve it, don't you think? So put some affection in there. Let me know who's here. All right, Superior here, Tara. Of course, as always, good to have you as well as a proud Rule member. Good to see Mark Jean, Business Machine. It's good to see Latif and Doug. What's up, man? It's great to have you, Jenna. Great to see you, Christian, of course. It's great to have Pam and Letty. It's great to have Tanyola and Tanya. I see you guys. I see Mark and Who. I see Danielle. I see Maureen. That's fantastic. So great. It's so great. Isn't it amazing? I mean, a lot of times people would often ask the question, you know, how do you build a real estate portfolio? How do you actually really get strong at growing rich in the things like real estate? Well, it all comes down to building a real estate investment portfolio that works for you. If you're making any note, I would write down notes starting here, because for the first time ever, I'm going to make very clear for the entire Rule team, and Rule, of course, standing for the Real Estate Wealth Lab, is that we are here to build bespoke real estate investment businesses for you. We believe that real estate investing should not be an entrepreneurial exercise. It's a financial one. This is not about becoming an entrepreneur so you understand how to build a real estate portfolio as if it were a business. We want to focus on people who are looking for the following three things. Number one is next level. We're looking for people who want to get to the next stage super fast. Number two is we know and trust, and we've heavily understood that people want to lean in and learn from those who are already and consistently and every day doing real estate transactions. Let's be frank. I mean, it's better than John, but the reality is this: I don't care what you've done 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or even a year ago. I want to know what you're doing today. And that's why we lean hard at Rule on the very fact that Rule has been built by people like Louie and Kyle and Naran and Wendy and Ken and Rob, and joined by members like you and guests like you, are built by people who are in real time, right now, in reality, today in real estate. And the third is results focused. I mean, it's so lovely to have community, isn't it? Isn't it wonderful to have a fantastic culture? But if you don't move the needle for yourself in the ways in which matter for you, it won't matter to any of you. We understand that research is important, education matters, but without opportunity, and I would write that down now, without an opportunity to put what research you've done and education you've learned into action, there is no traction. You've got to put to work the research into the education to understand that there's actually some traction. So we know that fully, this is not about life on your terms. And I hear that all the time in the world. And for the folks who are here and who know me, you know I'm a huge student of the human betterment movement. You know I'm a leadership guy and a self-help guy, writing books and advising celebrities and the like. But all that aside, I am no stranger to the term called life on your terms or life by design. Folks, real estate ain't about life by design. It's about math. And let's get real. If the math works for you, everything works alongside you. You can get your life in order. You can get your wife in line. You can get your husband to do something for you that you constantly ask him to do, and he's not yet heard you do it. But the reality is this: it's about life on your terms, sure. But it's not about getting your life in order. It's about getting your financial life to work. Investors don't need real estate investment businesses. They need a real estate investment business built for them. So for us tonight, why it was so important for us is we want to stop storming about the world about real estate and start performing. We want to move from storming about this whole concept of real estate wealth and wealth creation to performing more in that space. But it comes down to one word. And if you want to write this down, it is the secret and a pivotal point to prove before we get to a couple of conversations shortly. It's about one word, and it's one of my favorite, and it's about more. That's right, it's about more. I mean, real estate investing is about getting yourself more money. It's about getting more wealth. It's about getting more worth. And the difference between all those three that make up and comprised of therein is your financial life in its totality. Is having more money gives you purchasing power. Having more wealth gives you an asset base that gives you more worth, which is really the power and the freedom and the time to do as you wish to do and as you wish to do it. And if it's life by design, then so be it. If it's being able to watch your kids perform at soccer in the rink, then so be it. If it's to go away and be where you wish, then so be it. It's life on your terms, but only when you're financially truly empowered. I hope you all would agree and understand that this is the way, and this is the route. So tonight we're unveiling a conversation called AIR. It's an acronym that stands for Artificial Investment Realtor. That's right, Artificial Investment Realtor. Y'all tracking this so far? Just give me a thumbs up. Fantastic. Now, what I'll share with you about what we're about to unveil, which is really, in fact, a sneak peek, a preview, if it were, before we let it out of the cage, because this has been sitting in our lab for some time. In fact, its development dates back not weeks, not months, but years. Taken millions of dollars to invest in this development and thousands of hours of man time, and I mean like smart time. Like, I've got some good time. I mean, it takes smart time to build this out. So what we know about air is this. Yes, it's artificial, not implying that it's fake. I mean, it's artificial, leaning into the term artificially intelligent. Now, you've got to understand, though, artificially intelligent means who's trained it to be intelligent. Use your finger, not that one, use your finger and point in the direction in which anything artificially intelligent around you has learned to do what it does. Point at the person that's responsible for that. That's correct. You're all pointing at the right person. That's Ken Klinotakis' fault, the guy who is our COO, our Chief Operational Officer. I'm just totally kidding. But you're pointing at yourself. Because if I were to take my phone and say this, hey, Siri, play me some music I'll really like. Let's see what she says. And now she plays the music. Who taught her that? How did she know I would enjoy that song from the National? Because she's listening. All artificial intelligence is listening. It's not something that's scary or daunting. It's not something that should overwhelm you or scare you. It should empower you. We're making technology work for us. What's scary is it's making choices that we, quite frankly, don't have the courage to make nor stay committed to. Ain't that right, Richard Anderson? In a moment, I'll get to you. It's all about understanding that artificially intelligent devices, technologies, platforms, and programs create a very speedy, therefore compressed track for you to get to where you got to go in half the time. I don't want to look through my phone and look for my favorite music. I don't have the time nor the attention, because I'm with you right now, to take a look in my library to find myself a song I'd like to listen to, because Siri can do it in half the time. So why that is important for you is that the artificial part of air isn't that it's not real or it's not tangible. It's that it was caused and created by you, by us, by real estate investors. And thanks to Ken Klinotakis and his team, as they remain in a pressure testing modality, they are stress testing this artificial intelligence to make sure that it performs. The second part of this whole conversation is that it's an investment realtor. We're not looking at finding you a really wonderful new home, a cottage, or a recreational property. We know you enjoy fishing, Kyle, and skinny dipping during the cold, and we are sure to find you a wonderful hut if you wish to, in fact, get yourself warmed up on a lakeside. But that's for realtors who specialize in residential or recreational properties. This platform is for investment properties only. Does that track okay? Give me an okay. So we're going to make sure that we lean hard on artificial intelligence, to lean into consolidated data, aggregated algorithms, and predictive technology to find us in quick order the top great picks according to our criterion. And last but not least, the realtor part. This is not us being an investment club, and there are many out there. And as some of you might recall, I used to head one up with a very dear family of mine. That's in the past, and this is the present. I understand that in order for there to be traction, there's got to be action. And so I appreciate the place and the position of research and analysis and even education. But by golly, if the scoreboard doesn't blink, transitioning from 0 to 1, I've not won. And so for us, working with an artificial investment realtor means this is a transaction-oriented ecosystem. We will get real and we will get clear on where you're at and what you wish to achieve, but ultimately and only, we're only leaning in hard on doing more deals for you and for the investment goals that you've got. Now, before I be able to showcase what this looks like, I want to just pause for a moment. I want to pause for a moment and just dial back into my dear friend, Richard Anderson, who by all accounts in the mortgage industry of Canada has ranked in the top percentile of performers this country has ever seen. In fact, his trajectory, in fact, the way in which his business is growing and his network has been booming, and the needs of his clients and customers, just like you and I, have been served. He's on track to be the single greatest mortgage broker in the history of the business of all mortgages. And that's because top performers don't go away. Top performers only look for what's next, where to, how far. So Richard, come on in here with me. If I can have Annalisa just have you share the spotlight. First and foremost, dear friend, how are you, man? So good to see you. Are you on? Do I have to unmute you?
I'm still on mute.
There you go, man. What's going on, man?
You're too kind, so it's good to see you.
It's all good. Hey, listen, It's amazing what good friends say about others when they're in front of you. But all kidding aside, Rich, I mean, you know the volume you do. You know how incredible your team has become. You know how great and large and nationally reaching you've become. Tell me, what role do you think technology will play? What we've touched on just a little bit right now. How exciting is this for you as a lender?
Well, one of the big things that we're running into as we grow and as our group grows, we're up to about 140 right now, having them all educated at the same level, especially in the investment world, is really tough. So we have daily training, we have mentors, we have chat boards, that kind of thing. But the market's moving quicker and quicker. There's more online competition from the banks, from Rocket Mortgage in the States, that kind of thing. So I'm finding the pace of change and what we need to know increases. It used to be by year, and now it's almost month by month. We need to readjust. So this has me excited to come with an edge on the market, not be behind the market.
I love that. And you know, before I go to our dear friend, Chris Adamkowski, who was the former head of industry at Google Canada, I mean, he and I, we envisioned the futurization of real estate investing nearly 10 years ago. And I know you and I talked about this on the beaches of Jamaica in our Speedos as we were doing some horizon thinking and planning. You know, tell me, how big of a deal do you project? I know there's an image everyone wants to get out of their head is Richard and I. That's Richard squared in Speedos, right, on beachside. But all kidding aside, I mean, I couldn't quite see his Speedo. I don't know what the malfunction was there, but I did
That's
say
called the belly.
Correct. But all kidding aside, Rich, how important do you see, how powerful could you predict real estate investing will be going over the next 5 to 10 years, given the shift in wealth, the shift away from banks, the shift away from mutual funds and other types of classic and traditional investments? How important do you think real estate investing will now become with immigration rates going up, with more people coming into our country and calling it home? How big will this be for you and your industry?
Yeah, so there's been a fairly large shift, I think, partly from your previous company and others. There's more and more investors that are calling us. They seem to be more sophisticated, but there's also new ones coming in. There's a housing shortage right now, rents going through the roof. We're doing a lot of commercial builds right now where the government's really trying to promote Canada building more homes. So we're kind of in a new, I guess, a new era right now. It may last for quite a while, where housing is a premium. It's going to be going up, and you need to be knowledgeable because it's moving quite quickly.
No, absolutely. And I mean, of all the things, Rich, and I know you're going to stick around, so we'll mute you out, but I'm so glad that you're here. I'm happy to call you a strategic partner to what we're doing. Certainly the future of real estate investing requires the future of creative lending. And you are a part of that, thanks to you and Rich.
Yeah,
so
great to be here.
I'm man. I know I want to pull Chris in, but you said something that was very cool as we swap you out and bring Chris Adamkowski in, who I think is still freshly on the fields of play, given that he's got kids who are incredibly competitive in the world of soccer. So I said, please make some time, come say hello to our friends, members, and guests, people who are excited about this innovation, because it was Chris who I knew for now 12 years, where as the head of industry at Google, we have been talking about the futurization of real estate for quite some time. I mean, it's something that Vince, you know what we're talking about, and something that Naran and Louis have also agreed. But I mean, for my dear friend Chris, who I've learned much about artificial intelligence from, the power of that system, the understanding of its technology. Chris, are you here with us, my friend?
I am. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you. We're not as
Great.
lucky to be able to see you, but that's okay. I understand that you didn't have enough time for makeup and hair. But all kidding aside.
Well, no, I did have enough time for that. No.
Well, they've always said you've got a great face for radio, so we'll keep it to the voice. But
that's right. That's right. Everyone ought to use their imagination. I hope you don't hear too many shrieks of joy in the background. As Rich mentioned, I'm on the soccer field right now watching my daughter's game, but at a safe distance so I can talk about this actually quite important, timely, and hugely important conversation, hugely impactful conversation about AI.
Listen, family first, just mute us out when you got to yell at a child on the opposing team to get things in order. So let me get straight to it.
That's
Dude,
right.
Listen, you are no stranger to real estate investing. During your tenure that lasted well over a decade at Google, share with our friends why you're so excited about the role artificial intelligence will play in the world of helping an everyday investor get access to more deals more effectively.
Yeah, I think like going back to almost like the first principles and the promise of AI, I think is an interesting way to start this conversation. So I think when Richard and I first started talking about AI, it was probably 2015. And then 2015, I had the good fortune of working at Google, being an executive at Google, and working closely with some of the pioneers in the artificial intelligence space at that time. Jeffrey Hinton, for example, worked on the same floor as I did. We did management training together. He's for those of you who don't know who that is, he's one of the godfathers of AI, specifically neural nets. The reason why I mentioned that, neural nets, when they really became possible to scale out and activate in 2015, it really changed the way computing was done and the way that we as human beings interact with machines, because what that technology is able to do is at an enormous scale and with enormous speed, be able to make predictions and intelligent predictions. And so it started with, think pictures on Google Images, where the data was able to train a machine to understand the difference between a cat and a dog. And it's not looking at it the way we're looking at it. It's the way it's looking at it in ones and zeros and binary, and seeing patterns that we just can't see as human beings because it just looks at it differently in so much detail, so much faster, right? That expanded to language modeling. So natural language processing, which has now taken on new nomenclature with large language models. You might be familiar with ChatGPT. That's the almost like second inning, first realization of that promise. The reason why this is all so important as a little bit of a backgrounder is because the promise of AI that's just in the early innings of being realized is an ability to make predictions at scale that are impossible for human beings to think of the same way and do at the same speed. So when I transition that conversation to a real estate one, I think a lot of people would think, well, with real estate, it's mathematics. You just kind of do the calculation right. You buy at the right time. It's a pretty simple business. I don't think it is. And I think that an AI can understand a human being sometimes better than the human being can understand the human being. Richard used the example before of asking Siri to pick a song that you like. That's a great example of, sometimes a machine can say something that you just wouldn't imagine. You wouldn't pick up on your own. It's just like, oh yeah, that is the perfect song in this moment. That's a bit of a short, easy example, but imagine a real estate platform that can pick not just the best real estate investment, but the best real estate investment for you. Not just the best tenant, but the best tenant for you. And when there's a lot of data history that is able to be drawn upon, and that data exists in digital form, the machine can make predictions that, again, human beings just can't do. So I think my excitement around AI my excitement really is around AI in everything. But AI in real estate, I think, is early, I think is really exciting. And to find leaders that can pull that together, I gave kind of one example there, but find leaders that can pull together something that's meaningful in that space. And the one who's first makes all the difference. Being second in artificial intelligence is not like, certainly not a second mouse gets the cheese kind of situation, but it's not close to being first. If you are first in AI, you leapfrog, you jump ahead, you get a lead that makes it really tough to catch up. So, Chris, how's that for a quick intro, Rich?
I love that, man. I mean, first of all, who wants to feast on crumbs? So absolutely. Number two, it's always best to be first. But I love what you said. beyond moods. If you're writing down notes, folks, here's another one of the benefits, and I'm just going to recalibrate and not restate what Chris said, but beyond personal moods, bias, opinion, and ideals, artificial intelligence just gets to the facts. It doesn't care about how you feel. It doesn't care about what your feelings are. It just gets to the result that you're seeking. So, Chris, just a big shout out and an acknowledgement so you can go off and focus on your family, because family first always, and growing rich second. You got to know that thanks to your tenure at Google and the time you spent with me and my team, we are so grateful that we're here now because of all the great mentorship and insight and inspiration you've provided us over the years. It goes without saying that without you, we would not be here, and everyone here won't be a part of history in the making. So thank you, Chris.
Well, I really do appreciate that. And I would like to mention before I run off here that it does go both ways. AI is great technology, but without subject matter expertise, it doesn't count for anything. So it really does cut both ways. And I respect you. I love you as a friend, and I think you're right place, right time with the right information to really make a difference with this technology.
I appreciate you, man. I love you too, and we all appreciate you guys. So listen, go team, go cheer on that team. Trip the opponents as often as you can without getting caught. And I'll talk to you soon, my friend. That was
Thank
Chris.
you very much. Have a great evening.
You as well, my friend. I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, Richard Anderson, who's here with us, the head of Enrich Mortgages, he said it's about the pace of change. We heard from Chris Adankowski, the former head of industry for Google, say that it's about being first and it's about being best. And we're happy to be here with you and state that we're both. But you cannot, and I mean, you cannot skip having an opportunity of leaning in and listening more to a pioneer who's yet still young. And I'm talking about Hunter Milbourne, a dear friend of mine who was the former chairman of Sotheby's Real Estate Canada. I mean, this guy is not only known as the King Kong of condos, that's my terminology, but he truly has been the King Kong of condos. I mean, not just on a volume basis, not just on the bandwidth basis, but this man is one of the most highly diversified sales machines of Milbourne Realty in Canada. Highly sought after by some of the top tier, both 1 and 2 developers from around the world. They seek his advice and his insight and his leadership on how to mobilize not just investment dollars, but all dollars into newly realized new developments from across the planet. Now, primarily based in Toronto, he does stretch across both Canada and the US. A dear friend, a great mentor of mine, who was a co-founder, by the way, with me on P5, the NBA's first pension plan, private pension plan, P5 for professional players, personal pension plan. And that was with my dear friend, Hunter Milbourne, who's taught me much about international real estate, but also how to get to the right place at the right time first. Let's pull in Hunter, because I know that he's likely on his balcony somewhere. There he is. Hunter Milbourne, how are you, my friend? Wait, you are muted. I'm going to ask you. There you go.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. Well, I happen to be not on purpose, but sort of appropriately coincidental at a construction site. So I can give you a quick little view.
Oh, a consummate salesman. There's always a deal being had with you, my friend.
Well, this one is Seven Dale, the high-end one in Rosedale. So there's, anyway, it's very expensive homes and nearing completion. So we had a little soiree here tonight with some high-end agents. So anyway, listen, I think that I'm not sure whether you want me to just go on a little monologue or you want to do Q&A.
Well, here's what I want to ask you, Hunter. Yeah. I mean, everyone that's here, first of all, are honored to be here in your company. We all are admirers of your track record, your history, but also your impact in the real estate world. There's no denying it that someone on this call for sure has invested in a project that you were likely behind, just given how many projects that you've been involved in for nearly now 4 decades across this country. But tell us, what role would technology in your view, given you're a broker of record, you have a national sales team, and you're the most highly sought after real estate investment leader, thought leader in what I would say in the world, what role would technology play right now, Hunter, in helping people get quickly to the results they want when it comes to investing?
Listen, I'll share some of my views and hopefully it can give people some insights and maybe some motivations to do some things. But, 4 or 5 years ago, I had a little bit of an epiphany and thinking, well, I have this great business, but it's a 1.0 business. It's worth 3 to 5 times earnings. It's pretty simple. It has a great P&L, not the greatest cash flow. But at some point, and part of it was with my conversations with Chris, who you introduced me to, I'm going to get disrupted. So then I thought, well, I have 2 choices. I can be a witness or I can be a participant. So I'd much rather, if it's going to get disrupted, then I want to be part of it on the other end. So I started to, and I'm not very tech savvy. So I was coming from a kindergarten kind of foundation, right? So, but what I did was I started to learn more and more, as much as I could, reading whatever about blockchain, about crypto, about different tech aspects of things. And so I invested in a company called One Ballet. And One Ballet, it's the number one, and then Ballet was a startup by a friend of mine from Hull, Quebec, and it's a way to make buildings smart. So it's basically how do you replace the concierge with an electronic digital solution? The building, when you walk home, it can recognize you by facial recognition. When you drive home, it recognizes your license plate. So basically, when you go into the building, it knows who you are. It says, oh, here's Richard, and Richard lives in 605. So I'm going to call the elevator. It's going to be at the ground floor on his parking level. It's going to take him up. It knows how long it takes you to park your car and walk to your elevator. So the elevator arrives. It goes upstairs. It knows which way you turn to get to 605. And basically, your door automatically unlocks when you get there. And if you're coming home as a pedestrian, instead of your license plate, it's facial recognition. So that's just one of the features of One Ballet. So One Ballet was a startup 6 years ago with about a $5 million valuation. Today, it's got about 80,000 apartments up and running in North America and orders for about another 300,000. And it's a $150 million valuation. So that was one. We invested in a geothermal company, which basically is an ESG kind of theme. And it basically uses the ground heat and cooling to cool the building. So there's benefits to a building because you don't need the chiller on the roof. So it can create more saleable area. So this is a company called STS Renewables. And as you know, I have a friend who was in the casino business, and we did a little thing called ARB Labs, ARBLABS, arblabs.com, which was a solution to helping the casinos quantify the comp for their table game players, for blackjack and baccarat. So, I think that, we also have a little startup in Vancouver called ARIES, AIRES, Artificially Intelligent Real Estate Sales. So that's just beginning. It's in a seed fund round right now. But I think that, to me, when I think of artificial intelligence and how is it going to apply to real estate, I think it can be numerous, but the applications that we're using right now or attempting to create is really, if you think of the Greater Toronto market, in new construction of condos, it's about a $20 billion a year industry. So if you think that the marketing and sales and commission total of that is around 7 or 8%, it's about $1.5 billion. So if you multiply that by the number of cities in North America and the number of cities in the world, so wouldn't it be nice to know, where those buyers are coming from? What demographics, what national, just so with a view of how to find them in the future. So what we're striving to do is build data. Data is the new oil, as they say. So with predictive analytics, so you have a database of 1,000, then it's 5,000, then it's 10,000. So basically, our goal with that is to basically understand how a building sells out, and then the next time learn a little bit about how to do it a little bit more efficiently and bring that marketing cost down. The other natural application is to do it with investments. Here's a criteria. I'd like to have great leverage. I'd like to have a minimum 6 or 6.5 point cap rate. And then I don't want to spend more than $500,000, right? So maybe that finds me a house in Peterborough. Well, what's wrong with that? it doesn't have to be a young and bluer always, right? Because typically what happens is that in those prime locations, you might have a much lower cash on cash return, but a much higher internal rate of return because you're going to have faster appreciation. So that's great if you have more equity to carry it. But if you're looking for cash flow, even if that, different suburban location appreciates slower, if it has more cash flow in the meantime, you're kind of inversely proportionate from cash on cash return and your appreciating return. So those are just some initial thoughts in terms of what we're up to,
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, and what I love the most is that because you've been inside the world of real estate investment technology, if it were, understanding how it's sold, how it's marketed, and what end users look like, what the end investor looks like. And so you've seen every single one of the transitions these industries have come to pass, whether it's the old technology of closing deals or marketing them or finding dollars. It sounds like, and it looks as though we're both on the same page. Artificial intelligence is about to shift the landscape yet again. So one last question before we let you go, Hunter. For those who are investing in real estate today and doing it in a new way, do you trust technology to help do a lot of the heavy lifting right now in terms of analysis and research to compress your learning curve to get to answers faster?
Listen, I don't know that I'd be really qualified to answer that in a meaningful way, but I think that it's like chicken soup. I don't think it's going to hurt. So I think the more you expose yourself to that, the better it can be. But I think it's still, as Chris said, I mean, we're really in inning one. We're like in the first batter up. So I think that if people have a motivation to learn, and it's seek and ye shall find, and then there's a funny saying that I've heard a few times, what happens when artificial intelligence meets natural stupidity? So, but if you think of us as humans, right? I mean, we forget things, we don't know everything, but if you think of an artificially intelligent entity, it never forgets, it never misses anything. And I mean, how can it not come up with better objective answers when you give it a question? If you've ever played with the Chat GPT, I mean, usually, the thing that really struck me the most was the answers start to come out before you finish the question.
It's mind-boggling.
It's quite remarkable, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, I've called you a lot of things, but I've got a new thing to call you. And I think this is the one that's going to stick. You truly are the chicken soup for real estate investors. I mean, you're warm and cozy, and man, I love you as my friend, as a mentor, and I want to acknowledge you with the hundreds that are here and hundreds more that will listen to the follow-up and recording. I'm grateful for your mentorship, your leadership, and the industry is grateful for your presence and your continued leadership. So Hunter, thanks so much for being here tonight, my friend.
Thanks, Richard. And maybe the corollary is that it may not help, but it won't hurt, right?
That'll be the subtitle. My friend,
Okay.
you be well. I'll see you soon.
All right. Take care. Love you. Bye.
Folks, I love you too, man. And folks, that was
Bye.
Hunter Milbourne, an incredible man, an incredible leader, a great father, a grandfather, but more importantly, an incredible human being. So let's continue because, by the way, guys, give me a thumbs up. Put some fire in that chat room. Are we enjoying hearing from folks like Hunter Milbourne, legend, Chris Adamkowski, former head of industry and real estate technology for Google? If you've never heard of that company, just, Google it. I mean, we got Richard Anderson in the house, the country's largest, most heavyweight boxing champion of all lending needs in the country here right now. This is fantastic. So let's just go in and find what we got to find, because I want to just profess something. We're about to see a seismic shift. Don Rossum, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, we're about to see a seismic shift. Maureen, you know what I'm talking about. Tracy, Nima, good to see you. Radhika, I mean, Rob, you got what I'm about to say here. Kyle, we're going to get to you guys in a moment, but let me get straight to the point. I want to share my screen and share with you what we prepared for tonight, because this is really important for you guys to take a look at and see. You see, folks, we now notice, recognize, and understand. And Ken, only because I see your handsome face here. Am I good there? That's good. All right. Is that your heel or is that your foot? Can you do an okay from your foot? That guy's huge. All right. Here's what we know. Right now, the real estate investment model is about to shift. If you wish to take pictures, you're permitted. If you want to take note or record this, you're allowed. Why? At Rule, it's not about me and it's not about us. It's about you. And for us, we want you to win in tonight's conversation. So the real estate model really from the past was the do-it-yourselfer. And who here by show of hands is a do-it-yourselfer? You know who you are. You likely got a tool belt, a Home Depot gift card, and not because you were gifted it, but because you've got unused credit there from all the returns, right, Kyle? I mean, you've been building it, fixing it, and flipping it for a long time. But what we know about the do-it-yourself model, this might be your life, your terms, but it's on you. And this is where it requires time to learn how to invest, time to build your analysis models, time to develop your deal flow, build your team, learn to arrange funding, learn to bid on deals, learn to market property, learn to sign tenants, learn to manage property, and then learn to manage this all financially and much, much more. But what's the most operative requirement inside the do-it-yourself model, a technology of the past? It's time. And that goes against the grain of the innovation and disruption of technology, folks. Technology hasn't gotten smarter and faster so that you can lose time. I mean, I've never seen on Waze or on Google Maps, find me longest route if possible. Unless you're unhappily married, you happily take the longest route if possible. But all kidding aside, I mean, technology is meant for us to go faster, cut corners, get there sooner, and save what? Save time. This is why the do-it-yourself model is stressed, distressed, and dying. It's dying. The margins are thinning, interest rates are rising, costs are going up. It's not going to be easy to do it the way it once was. So that's why we know that time-saving spectrum is important. And when we think to ourselves, if I'm going to start on January 1st as my New Year resolution to take absolute control of my real estate investment portfolio, well, that's going to take you about 12 months. It's going to take you all that time to get there. And that's why we've seen over the past 5 to 6 years a trend that's been growing inside the realm of the real estate investment model. And that's what's called do it with me. That's right, do it with me. This is where you get to leverage our capabilities. You get to leverage our competence. You get to leverage my confidence. Something I stole from and use very readily thanks to our friend and a champion senior real estate investment advisor, Naran Kalathungam. I mean, this is where you get to leverage the best of who we are so you can become the best of who you wish to be financially. And that's usually fee-based or equity-oriented. So it means this is where you're the investor, where you arrange the money. We partner with you, so we go find the opportunity and get it all set up. And together, we ensure a positive experience. Does that make sense? And that do-it-with-me model is like we're investing on your terms, but together, where we both have equity in the game, as in our genius in your money. So the do it with me model is here to stay. And I'm here to tell you it's going to grow. But if you want to know where the future of real estate investing is going, I'll share with you something. Because when you look at the time saving spectrum on the matter of do it with me, you can get yourself out of your New Year resolution and into a property within a matter of 4 months, maybe even sooner. So the savings, if you're mathematically challenged, is about 8 months. What are we giving you back in the do it with me model? 8 months of your time. Imagine inside that time, you'll be able to do another 2 deals, compressing the curve, actually compressing the requirement of your time. Now, the future will be do it for me. You know, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you want to make note, write this down because you'll hear me say this often. Real estate is not an existential exercise. It's a financial one. I don't care who you get to become as a real estate investor, as long as you become richer, as long as you become more financially sound, as long as you become wealthier, as long as you grow your worth. If you become those things immeasurably, I'm a happy leader. And I know Ken and Rob, Louie and Kyle, Wendy and Naran and Vincent would agree. This is where you get your financial life assessment oriented. This is where you get your financial intention clear. And this is where the number one thing, and if you're writing down notes, this is what you should write down on a daily basis, or at least weekly, because we have an offer for you on a weekly basis. You should be being presented deal flow. That's right, deal flow. Because when you're in the proximity of deal flow, your money grows. And that's all that matters. Whether you want personal growth or get a sense of self or have an existential aha, those are all wonderful bonuses. But this is not an existential exercise, it's a financial one. And when you do the math, and I implore you to take a picture of the screen, do a screenshot if you can, or pull your device up and take a picture. Because what Ken and I did was we did the math. You see, what we've come to learn, and I've been in the business of helping real estate investors get to where they got to go in short order, we did some math. We assumed that people want, let's say, about $120,000 per year as additional income or the ideal income thanks to real estate. You tracking this, folks? Just give me a thumbs up. You got that, right, Louis? Right, Richie Rich? You with me, Mr. Anderson? So what I want to just point out is that we're using that just as a benchmark. Yeah, it could be higher, it could be lower. But if you break it down, that means that's $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year. Now, on average, as a Torontonian, I live and reside in Toronto. So does Ken, but some of our team members are in Alberta and Calgary, Edmonton, Airdrie, some in Vancouver and some in Victoria. So we understand that there might be a national average, which might be askew, but we're going to go with $100 per door. The average deal should generate about $100 per door. That's $1,200, well, annually. So if you do the math, right, if I channel my inner Hunter Milbourne, who's a mathematician at birth, that's 120 doors at $100 a month. That's $120,000 per year. So far, so good. Yes, my math rings true. Now, you now know to get one great deal, how many do you have to look through? Now, on average, we suffice that it's about 10 doors, right, Ken? 10 doors. It takes 10 good looks, 10 kick at the cans to get to one great deal. Well, that means mathematically that you've got to review 1,200 doors just to get 120 deals done. Now, assuming you got to spend 1 hour per door to assess, that's 1,200 hours in total across 1,200 doors. And assuming that you take about 10 hours a week or 2 hours a day to do that work. Some people do less, some people do more. It'll take you 120 weeks or 2 years just to achieve your financial ideal life. Now, who here by show of hands wouldn't want to cut that 2 years down into, let's just say, 1 year or 6 months? Y'all tracking this? So the number one thing when you look at that math, you've got to know that doing it for me, which is what Rule is leaning into by leveraging largely artificial intelligence, we're compressing the spectrum so that you don't have to do the lion's share of that work. Remember, if you are in the proximity of deal flow, you'll grow. No deal flow, no way to grow. I don't care what self-help workshop, what lecture you need to hear, or how amazing it is to consider who you've become or what business you need to build. You need deal flow to have your wealth grow. So the question then becomes, how do you value your time? If you're $50 an hour, 1,200 deal reviews, that's 60 grand. You're going to spend $60,000 of your own time just looking for your 120 deals. But if you're like most people here who value their time a little bit more richly than that, $100 an hour, that's 120 grand. But some people here know what they're worth, $200 an hour. That's $240,000 that you'll spend on valuable time, your time, just to get to the portfolio you want. And by the way, I want you to write this down, especially if you're a coach, a mentor, or someone who leads others into deals. This is the dysfunction of why real estate doesn't rock for everybody, because we get stuck inside of the vacuum of expending endlessly copious amounts of time just looking through deals. We get bored, disconnected, or simply, and more frankly, overwhelmed. Remember, friends, if you're making notes, write this down. Real estate success is a function of three things: accessing more deals, harnessing more money, and saving your time, which, by the way, is the ultimate return on investment. At Rule, we've decided as a culture, we don't want to track how many doors you've got. We want to know how many more hours you've got. We want to track how much more time you've got back so you can go on a soccer field and watch your daughter play a soccer game, or go off to a wonderful new sales function to welcome yet another project for yourself. So for us, what we know is that spectrum is so important. We'll share it with you by way of sending this out to everybody else. So in the last 15 minutes that we've got, we want to give you this sneak peek, this preview, this sneak peek through the curtain, if it were, of what has been shaking and baking for us. So Ken, I'm going to turn the controls over to you, because I want you, as a seasoned real estate investor, as a licensed realtor who sells real estate investment deals to people, why and how should I look at what you're about to show us? How will this change our lives as real estate investors who don't want to spend 2 years getting there, but want to spend a few months getting there, and much faster if we can? Can I turn it over to you, my friend?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You hear me okay?
Absolutely, man.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Great. Thank you for having me, everybody. Appreciate it. I'll keep this quick. Feel free to interrupt me, Richie, if I'm going too fast. I'm super excited about this. This is everything that you talked about years ago, and we're going to dive right into it. So what I'm going to show you is the actual platform, just some ways that Richard talked about how it's going to save some time. I'll dive into that, just a few slides, very short. And then I'm actually going to get into the platform and show you guys live what it looks like, and then we can do some Q&A after that. Sound okay?
You bet.
Excellent, good stuff. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, good. All right, so as Richie said, what is artificial intelligence, the Artificial Investment Realtor, AIR? AIR is like realtor.ca. However, all the listed single-family properties have been analyzed for potential investment or rental opportunities. This is something that an investment-focused realtor would be doing with their clients, i.e. me. This is exactly what I'd be doing with my clients to help them make a buying decision. So the reason I love AIR and we love AIR, it saves time. As Richard said, done for you market analysis. That's time saved wondering if you should be buying or selling. Real-time heat map, by cap rate and yield rates. Save time analyzing deals that may never work. Predictive and active sold and rental comps all brought together. That's time saving verifying numbers manually. It has everything I need to make an informed decision, whether the property is worth my time or not, to go see it or even make an offer. I'm going to show you just a quick before and after, right? The old way of doing things, manually searching, looking for market analysis, government third-party sites, national boards, local boards, compiling all that data, putting it together in a cohesive way so that it makes sense for a client or even myself as an investor to look at it and make sense of it. Now it's consolidated and centralized. The old way of looking through properties, filtering to see if they actually made sense or not, was using quick filter methods, different applications, different Excel files, and you had to do it deal by deal, property by property. Now you can see on the right, it's there on a heat map, by cap rate. It's right there. So you can actually pick where you want to actually look for investments. Predicted and actual sold rental comps. This as a realtor was a pain point, compiling that data, doing the manual research and the analysis. Again, compiling that data, making it make sense for someone to look at, a client or even myself as an investor. Now it's centralized and done for me. And then the neighborhood profile analysis, understanding the tenant, if you wanted to know who your tenant or customer was, it's your tenant, they're your customer, they're your client. You have to know how to market. So you have to understand the neighborhood, what's there, what are the features, advantages, and benefits. Before I would do this all on third-party sites, Walk Score, Hood HQ, rentals.ca, Google Maps, compiling all that data to make sense of it so I could show people how we're going to get tenants in this place to make sure that there's rental income. Now it's all centralized here for quick reference. So who's ready to see the actual platform? You guys ready? How am I doing on time, Richie? We okay?
Let's do it, buddy.
All right. Here we go. Can you guys see my screen, the heat map? We're going to start with that.
That looks pretty.
All right. So again, this is live, real-time MLS data from local real estate boards. You're seeing the pins. You're seeing the yield map. You can sort by attached, condos, detached. You can search by location. You can search by, property min and max, the investment amount, your down payment amount, and a bunch of other filters. Then you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, it's already giving you, the cap rates, gross yields, projected square footage, all that information's there. Now, if I click on a property, boom, now you can see that AIR has already analyzed the property using predictive analysis, predictive text. It's done the returns based on monthly rents. It's done your expected investment, your expected return over 5 years, your average annual on equity. Richie, interrupt. If I'm going too fast, like I said, let me know. I'll walk through this quickly.
I think you're doing just fine, my friend, because you're talking like an investor. You're speaking like a qualified realtor. You've helped hundreds of investors get deals done faster. You're speaking with the passion it takes to communicate why this matters to us right now, and it'll save us time.
Absolutely. As you can see, it's already pulled the gross yield. It's already pulled the cap rates. Okay. Gross yield is how much money that you're going to make if you were buying and selling this and the money you put in. The cap rate is about how much money it's going to generate as an income producing asset. So again, it's done a quick analysis here. It's done some property appreciation assumptions based on actual comps.
And by the way, Ken, only because you're likely speaking really to the screen, there was one great question that just came in from our friend out there in Windsor. How are rents calculated?
So it's pulling all their aggregate data from a lot of different third-party sites and local board sites. So it's pulling all that data together, and I'm going to show you how it does it in a moment. So I'm going to go down a little bit. But quickly, high level, you can see here the MLS listing information. It's got news, it talks a little bit about the marketplace, what's happening. You can see the price predictive text here. What's the projected monthly rent? Again, based on comparables from third-party sites, it's aggregating all that data and pulling it in, doing the calculations for us. Talks a little bit about what's happening in the marketplace, local articles, all that stuff is live. What you're seeing is live in real time, folks. The rental, sorry if I'm going too fast, nearby sold rented properties. The green pins represent the real estate listings that have been sold. The rental listings are here as well. So you can see the actual data that it's compiling all here on the screen. You just hover over it and it'll show you all the data. Neighborhood profile, like I talked about with understanding who the tenant profiles are. What's the commute time to and from? What's the education? What are the amenities? What's the character of the neighborhood like? Are there parks and stuff? So you got to know how to communicate that to potential tenants for your investment. Now, if that's not all it does, it'll actually do a due diligence report for you. So if you thought this was pretty cool, what it'll actually do next is you can request a full-on due diligence report if you were going to make a buying decision. Again, this is the item that I would present to a group of investors or even my clients if they wanted to make a buying decision on this unit. So I click the request. And then within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to get an actual report that looks like this. Again, you can see the pro forma snapshot, the monthly rent, the gross yield, the cap rate, the IRR, measuring the continued investment into the property and what that looks like on a yearly basis. Now over here on the left, you can toggle through the actual info of the property again, looking for different opportunities. You can see this one here is 2 or 3 units, can be used for residential, commercial, or rental purposes. Now you can also look at the pricing. It lists out the actual comparables based on the beds, the bath. How is the reference factor? It's 80% to the subject property. It's 100% to the subject property. It gives you predicted bid pricing on what you should be bidding for that. And it also predicts what it might sell for, but it gives you the option of what you should be bidding based on the comps.
And by the way, to slipstream with you, because I want to speak to our friend Stuart Lessels, who asked the question, have you verified the accuracy of the AI predicted rents? Are they accurate or within range? Remember, folks, if you do the research on artificial intelligence, it needs to be supported like training wheels on a bike. If you put your child on a bike for the very first time, you're going to want to hover over them carefully, even though the training wheels will do its work should they teeter or they totter. So we have our team, what we call rule advisors, which is led by Ken in this particular case, who oversees the aggregation of this data to do what we call stress testing on the data, so that the accuracy is not just back tested, but it's also verified and within the range, which in fact is both viable and accurate. Make sense? Hope that gets to you, Stuart. Thanks, Ken. I hope I answered that question right.
Absolutely. And that's why if you caught what I said earlier, when you do the actual due diligence report, it does take 24 to 40 hours because we still are doing the training wheels in the back end. Okay, guys. So as AI progresses and you start trusting the models, that time will be seconds, right? So that's why I mentioned that when you do the request, it will take a little bit of time because we are verifying the numbers that it's pulling in. As you can see, there's the monthly rents for unit 1, unit 2, and the comps, they're all listed there. As you go down, you'll see the key financial assumptions, based on the algorithm and all the AI that's talking about what the bid price would be, the premium you could expect to pay based on the list price. So it's suggesting a bid price that you could be bidding on this property based on the predictive analysis. It'll also compile the data to show you how it came to the actual cap rate that was listed on the property. Based on that bid price and based on the rent that it's saying that it'll go for, now you've got your cap rate. And then, of course, it goes through your financial analysis and it gives you a base case scenario. If you looked at this property and bought it all out, all equity in, it gives you the bare bones of an investment for this investment vehicle, because when you start adding debt and stuff, it's different for everybody. So at a bare bones level, this analysis is with no debt. You'll see it here down in the numbers, but it does that so you can give you a good indication of whether or not this is a great income generating property or a potential investment that you want to consider. Again, it goes into the income yields, total return summary, all that information's there. Now, down at the bottom is the part that you want where you could look at the photos, okay? Looking at the property, You can compare the interiors. All the resale comps are here again, so you can see, relatively, are these real comparables, based on the furnishings, renovations, etc. The statistics, if you want to know the market stats, so you're buying at the right time, you know what the actual market rents are going for, you want to verify that data. It's pulling all the data right into each property when you're doing your due diligence report. You can see that all here. MLS listing ratios, sales sold averages. That data is all here for you. I just want to acknowledge we're at time, Rich. Give me.
We're good. We've got groups here that are here till by 15 more minutes. And by the way, if folks got to check out, we're about to give you a free offer. So if you've got to go, we're going to be done in about 15 minutes. So in exchange for your continued listening and partnership, we're going to make sure that we give you an offer you can't refuse. You're going to want to get access to this. But hey, real quick, as I got your attention, Ken, Maureen asked if this information is available for smaller cities outside of the GTA or GVA, and I would have to say yes, it is. Correct?
It will be. We're currently, again, in beta testing, training wheel sessions, and we went with the biggest local market that we know that we can assess and have real eyeballs on to make sure that we're pushing out real numbers. So we're starting off in Ontario, and it's gonna get growing. So
got it. Great.
Okay, so as I go through it again, neighborhood, knowing all the information on what's around, all the resources you need to make that buying decision are here. The schools, again, the resale comps, the rental comps, what they sold for, all that data is here for you to use. And again, this is what I would use if I was sitting in front of a client or making an investment decision to actually make that buying decision. So that's it. Over to you, Rich.
No, that's great. I mean, if you come out of the screen share, and then we'll give folks an opportunity to understand how they can actually get their hands on testing this themselves, because I think that's exciting when you get in there and you just kind of work with it. What's interesting, and if you're writing down notes, folks, write this down. I don't care if you're a realtor, a mortgage lender, or a real estate investor. I want you to write down this number, $60 trillion. That's 60 with a T. Now, $60 trillion is the number of dollars that's going to be passing over from one generation to another in the next 8 to 10 years. That's what we're calling the greatest intergenerational wealth transference. Now, before I say what I'm about to say, let me say something different. When I would visit my grandmother, she would often give me $5 to go and buy an ice cream. I don't know who here can actually empathize with that, visiting old Nana, grandma, or whoever you called her. But I'll tell you what I did with that money. Nothing. I held on to it. I saved it. You want to know why? Because of how valuable that gift was from my grandmother. It wasn't worth spending. You all tracking this? Just give me an okay. That's how we behave with inherited dollars from those we love. Only a small percentage goes towards paying off debt. Even a smaller percentage goes towards what's called a splurge, like a nice to have, a sea-doo, a ski-doo, a boat, maybe a trailer, even maybe a vacation home. But the lion's share of dollars inherited over the next 8 to 10 years is going to be earmarked for long-term savings. And the perceived asset class that's going to be the storehouse of long-term wealth that's intergenerationally transferred is real estate. So if you arm yourself with a tool like this, my friends, you'll be in a very highly desired position to provide people real estate investment direction on where to store dollars into real estate. Now, Maureen, you're asking about cryptocurrency. I don't know about that. I've never heard of anything. I think crypto was a thing of the past. I'm just kidding. I know it's been a long winter for those poor crypto folks. But I'm sure when the thaw comes down, it'll be like my backyard. Things shrink and disappear after a while. But more on that another time. So I want to make sure I say that to say this. That first and foremost, Ken, well done. I mean, you're working closely with the computer scientists, the engineers, the AI thinkers over there at our platform headquarters. Let's give them a round of applause for sharing it with you guys. Because I gotta say, I would be the kind of guy that says, hey, here's some money, do it for me. I wouldn't be the guy who'd do it himself. I would say, here's my money, go find me a property. You all get that? And I know a large number of you here might be that kind of person too. So Ken, if you can unmute yourself, why don't you help me make very clear for our friends before I invite some of our rural advisors just to tell us what they think and how this is going to impact the game of real estate investing in the closing 11 minutes that we've got, like Kyle, like Naran, like Vincent and like Louis, what's the 14-day trial? What's that about? What do people have to do to get a chance to, well, test drive this platform in this newly released technology?
Absolutely. So what we want everybody to do, those of you that are members or not, if you're not a member, just go to realestatewealthlab.com/trial and become a member. What we're going to do is, just like the AI, we're going to walk you through it with the training wheel. So as Richard said before, do it with me. We want to help you all the way through it. So members, congratulations. We'll see you on Thursday.
Hold on a second. You're telling me that members already get it like for free? No strings attached?
They're going to get access to it as soon as we do the walkthrough. Absolutely.
Wonderful. So what you're saying is that before we give people the keys to an F1 car, we're going to give them an orientation on how to use the F1 car. And you're going to do that at what you call a rule deal club, a rule deal
watch. We're going to call it a deal watch. Guys, this is live in real time. When Richard was doing this call, we're like, let's walk this through. There's a lot of questions. I know you guys have tons of questions. If you have questions, email us, info@realestatewealthlab.com, and I'll answer your questions. Absolutely. But yeah, once you are a member, we're going to walk you through the orientation, as Richard said, and then we will get you access to the platform. And we'll explain how the access works and what it all does, and we'll answer a lot of questions live on that call.
Awesome. That's good. I want to get over to Kyle real quick, and I want to hear from the others before we wind down and say goodbye and let everyone know. This is a 14-day trial. If you're familiar with the Rule membership slate, I mean, it's $9 a month. It starts at $9 a month. This is not about hitting you over the head with a massive ask. There's no private club. We're not looking for $50,000 to give you the rest of the secrets. We just want to make an honest relationship for ourselves. So we want to make sure you become a client and we become your leader. And that's where we start. It starts as low as $9 a month. So get to the link, get yourself on the list so you're able to use and make use of the 14-day trial by getting there. I know that there was a conversation here about, does this have commercial real estate, hotel storage and the like. This is what we call the SFR asset class. We're starting with the single family residential property class. We're starting there first, and we will build it out to include other asset classes. But again, as Hunter has said, Mr. Chicken Soup, what Chris has said, we're in the first inning of developing artificially intelligent investment real estate leadership. Make sense? And you folks are right there at the cutting edge, the bleeding edge, if I dare say. So Kyle, why don't you come on in and just say hello? It'd be lovely to hear your voice. I know you're an accomplished real estate investor. You're a real estate investment advisor, a leader, a spokesperson. You're a trainer. You're one of the first and only who I equally admire who's been training real estate investment professionals on communication, on sales, self-leadership, and the like. As an accomplished real estate investor, how do you think this will change the game for those seeking to grow their real estate portfolios, brother?
It's honestly just going to exacerbate and speed up the process. The one thing that I've experienced with a lot of plethora of people in multiple industries, not just even in real estate, a lot of individuals keep saying, I don't have time to do that. And especially when it comes to data and research, I'm a living testament of that. There's been times where I didn't do my due diligence enough and the deal backfired. I didn't maybe check something on a rental market, or I took the advice of someone that was trying to sell me the deal when I in fact should have done my own due diligence. Now, I know a lot of individuals on the call are probably sitting there wondering, how can I trust this data? Well, a little thing about 10 years ago, if I were to say you are going to stay in someone else's house in another part of the planet, you'd think I was crazy. That's called Airbnb. And as a person who owns Airbnbs, there is data on there that the app tells me collective information on what I should be renting my specific properties out for. 2-3 years ago, I didn't trust that data. Now it's to the point where if Airbnb says your price per night should be $427, I change it, and guess what? It rents out 2 days later. Airbnb is collecting that data, and as more and more time progresses, the data is just going to become that much more accurate. So as an investor, as a person that's a realtor, I trust the data, no different than I trust Google Maps to get me to the direction I need to go. There is going to be a bit of a learning curve, and yes, we are going to need to do our due diligence, But over time, this data will become more and more accurate. The AI will learn. The AI will learn off of us as a whole. And as a single family investor and multifamily investor, I have to admit, the one big time constraint is doing all the due diligence on it and then not pulling the trigger. So for me, I think it's going to be a massive time saving exercise that is going to reap benefits for those that are willing to bet on something that is new, innovative, and informative.
I love that. I love that you shared it that way. And I love how you framed it as a time saver. I mean, if there's anyone here that understands time savings, it's Vincent Sundar. I mean, as another fellow real estate wealth lab advisor, he's a technologist. So he understands technology and he knows as a developer and as a real estate investor. Let's turn over to Vincent as we say thanks to Kyle. I know we're going to see a lot more of you, brother. It's good to see you tonight. So grateful for your support. But, Vincent, tell me what as you help very large companies and corporations bridge the gap, if it were, from their old traditional models of business and heading into the future as in using technology, what do you foresee is going to be the challenge for real estate investors to embrace this innovation, to embrace artificial intelligence, to do a lot of what Kyle just said is a lot of the heavy lifting in due diligence? What will be the biggest challenge, you think? Wait, I think you're muted, my friend.
Hey, Rich, can you hear me?
There we go. There we go.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. So first of all, even the big banks that I've been working with on AI over the last year and a half, they were hesitating. They're like, how can I trust the data? Guess what? We implemented, they're testing, they're trusting the data, they're saving millions, they're executing so quick now. With us as real estate investors, it's the same thing. How do I even trust this? Guess what? That's where the market's going. That's where technology is going. You need to test drive it. Do your own due diligence. We said the same thing to the leading banks. Do your own due diligence. But guess what? As soon as you start walking through this and you see the pace that the analytics occurred, the predictive analysis, when you start seeing the results and your portfolio moves at a greater exponential speed, you'll come to love it. And you'll verify yourself over and over again. That's, as humans, we do that. We double check, we triple check. But you know what? You'll learn to love FaceTime, love to learn Zoom. Technology takes a bit to adapt to, but we all eventually adapt and we then move forward. So come on this journey with us, test it out. That's exactly what we're saying, and you'll fall in love with it, just like we have. I've already looked at this personally. I got 3 decades in the tech space. I looked at it personally with Ken. I love the tech. I can't wait for everyone else to experience it too.
Well said. Well said. You're a man with a DeLorean. You've been to the future. You know what's in store for us. So good to hear your voice, Vincent. And speaking of understanding volume, I mean, let's go to Louis for a moment. Louis is someone who's had his hands in over $1 billion worth of real estate projects in his lifetime. And if you look at him, he doesn't look like a day over 30. So it's amazing to think that he's just really getting started. But with all kidding aside, being a very avid, very mature, and very accomplished real estate investor and a real estate investment advisor at Rule, here's a question I've got for Louis. It's a numbers game. As we just heard from Vincent, it's about doing your due diligence, but I want to make sure everyone writes this down. A function of real estate success is assessing more deals. The more deals you assess, the more likely you'll do a deal. But the amount of deals we assess are very, very small. That's why on average, the average real estate investor only in fact assesses, here it comes guys, 2 deals per one they do, telling you they're leaning heavier on a person who brings them a deal than on their own ability to do due diligence themselves. It's a function of time, to Kyle's point, to Vincent's point, but it's also a function of how do I even do it? Where do I start? Where do I begin? We're not all smart with calculators like Ken, and we don't have the time to do it like some others who are accomplished. So AI is not supposed to replace you doing the due diligence. It's an accelerator for you to get it done. So Louis, are you there, my friend? Is he not there? Have we lost Louis? Hello? Okay, he's gone. Let me go over to Naran then in the closing moments that we've got. because I promised everyone that we'd get him off here by 8:15. Naran Kalathungam, I'm hoping that you're here. I know you're a seasoned veteran, not calling you old, but I'm calling you mature and accomplished. I hope you hear that clearly. You've been one of the greatest leaders in the stable of real estate investment advisors. You're just over a decade long in this, if not 2 decades now. I would have to say. Did you say 3 decades?
2.
Oh, goodness. I almost aged you just like that. Brother, tell me, how will artificial intelligence, and especially in the context in which we've shared it, with funding thanks to Enriched Mortgages and Richard Anderson and his team nationally that's going to support all real estate investors across the country, for you in doing what you've done, how does this change the game now?
Well, Rich, first of all, this is so exciting because I feel like we are at the beginning of a hockey stick curve. And those of you who are on board with us, you are all early adopters of this technology, and we're all jumping in. Here's what I've noticed. When I deal with people that want to invest in real estate or provide some level of leadership there is 3 things that I notice that expand time. And that is the level of complexity that seems to be increasing, the level of capacity that seems to be decreasing, and confidence seems to be low. Confidence in people around us, within systems around us, and even within ourselves. What I see this technology being able to do is to decrease the level of complexity. I mean, Ken, when you went through that presentation and I saw all the multifaceted, multi-layered levels of diligence that was there, that was being compressed down and crystallized, it actually increases my level of confidence. I place people's capital into real estate. I need to protect my confidence. And those of you who want to invest in real estate, or for that matter, do anything, you've got to protect your confidence. What this will do is it will increase your confidence. It will allow you to borrow our confidence and increase your capacity while not making the world less complex, but actually making it simpler for you to navigate the complexity. So that, I think, will be a massive accelerator.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I mean, I've often said, just in the world of personal development, if you're making any notes and if this is of interest to you, by definition, and I do mean by definition, confidence is borrowed, never owned. And as far as artificial intelligence is concerned, artificial intelligence, AI, will borrow its confidence from who? From you. So the more we use it, the smarter it'll become. I mean, it's amazing that Chatbot GT came out just a matter of months ago. And within the short period of time, it's at rendition, 4.0? And 4.0 is blisteringly, incredibly better than 1.0. I mean, it's just the reality. But the more that use it, improve it. So we're just really simply seeing not a pioneering stage of this particular conversation and innovation, but really now the breaking through of the innovation. So Naran, so good to hear your voice. I'm grateful for the leadership that you bring to people in the world of real estate investing, and I know we're going to see plenty more of you. Now, I know I don't want to do this without saying hello and getting the opinion of Louis, a multi-billion-dollar player in the world of development, restoration, and rehabilitating very large buildings across our great city. Lou, I know you're back. I did not want to say that without hearing your voice, my friend. There he is. Louis, tell us, how do you think this will change the game for do-it-yourselfers? For those who are going to move from the old technology of do-it-themselves and spending an opulent amount of their own time and bandwidth, as Kyle pointed out earlier on, and transition into embracing technology in a new and innovative way. What do you think? Because you've been learning much about this space for some time.
I have, Rich, and thank you. It's been a fantastic call, and I'm glad it's not over yet because I wanted to share this. I want to stay on the theme of time and time saving, but from a perspective of property management and asset management. And when you're dealing with a technology as powerful as this, what it's going to do for you is not just save on your diligence for the property, but it's going to save time and advise you on the past, present, and future of the property, because it's going to be collecting all that data that you don't have to look for now. So we're starting with single family residences, but as this scales, you're going to be looking at bigger properties, multifamily deals, new areas, developments, and with that comes a lot of extra due diligence that can be collected in this technology. So I think that's so powerful because it's just going to really speed things up for us and give us a lot more accuracy so we can take affirmative action.
No, I like that. And I mean, as you've been on the bleeding edge of understanding where artificial intelligence is heading, I know Collision is coming to Toronto next week. I mean, we are no strangers as a city nor country to the disruptive nature of technology. You've been listening to and learning more about blockchain and NFTs, the world of metaverse and the like. How important is artificial intelligence going to be for the future of financial performance for people who already are in real estate investing?
It's crucial to understand the basics of how it's being built now, because it's just going to continue to scale. And even if you don't want to involve yourself too much on it, it's important to at least play with it to a point where you can educate yourself enough to know what it's about and how it operates. Because as it continues to grow, it's going to take in those things like you've mentioned, blockchain, NFT. These are all things that are going to start to write contracts for our transactions, and it's going to be tied into AI because it's going to perform other functions for us within the same transaction. So you need to understand all of this at a fundamental level to invest into the future.
I love it, man. I love it. You know, Tony Robbins said it best. He said that those who make the worst of their time most complain about its shortness. And I mean, if there's one thing that I want you to really get out of tonight's time that we've spent with our friends, Louis, thank you so much, and Kyle, Naran, and Vincent. I mean, incredible real estate thought leaders on all things investment and wealth preservation and legacy planning. But folks like Ken and Rob, folks like Richard Anderson, Hunter Milbourne, and Chris Adamkowski, these people are not lightweights in their domain of industry. They're all here for one reason, and that's you. It takes a community to create commerce, and we take the future very seriously. So if there's one thing we want you to walk away with is this: start now by shifting your relationship to how you value your time and what you do with it, because that is ultimately, as we conclude tonight's epic gathering, that is the ultimate return on your investment of faith and funds through real estate. It isn't the life you get to live. It's not a life by design. It's not the freedom you have or the choices you gain now access to or restoring with. It's the fact you have more time to spend as you wish, when you wish, on the things that matter most to you. That's what it means to grow richer in the new conversation about real estate investing. I sure hope you got some value from tonight, because we are absolutely astonished at your presence, and we're grateful that you're here. We know you could have been in 100 different places, and some people even are, but you chose to listen in, lean in, and learn more from the Real Estate Wealth Lab. And I got to tell you right now, this is where results are born, are built, and built to last. And we're grateful to do it, not for you, but with you. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Ladies, so grateful for your time and attention. To those who are supporting us, Richard Anderson and the Enrich team, we are so excited and exhilarated by your presence, your partnership, and the spirit of both. Thank you, my brother, for being here, and your entire team, coast to coast. We look forward to doing billions of dollars in transactions with you. Big shout out to Ken Klinoftakis, who's worked tirelessly with our technologists. A job well done, my friend. I know it's just the beginning, and with you and those incredible hours you put in, you've got hundreds of people who are here tonight, grateful that they now are one step closer to creating and causing a financial future worth living for. Thanks to you. Thanks to all of you. And until next time, make sure you get into our 14-day trial period. No strings attached. We want to give you access to an orientation on the F1 sports car. So before you get fast, you get clear on how it's going to go fast for you. Until next time, I'm Richard Dolan. A real pleasure to be here with you tonight, and the rest of the team who made me shine, because they do just that much brighter than I. Guys, be well, be great, but more importantly, be the richer you. Be well, folks.